Kate Chopin's short stories have always fascinated the readers by the unique combination of concise content and a profound context. The Story of an Hour is not an exception. In only about 1,000 words, the writer manages to tell a dramatic story with quite an unexpected ending. The critics frequently note the feminist implications of the story's critique of conventional marriage. Ironically, Louise Mallard's self-assertion upon being freed from a constricting marriage does not last long. Because the written piece is rather short, one must be particularly attentive to each detail employed by the author to describe the main character's feelings. The powerful use of imagery in The Story of an Hour allows the author to show Mrs. Mallard's genuine emotions by allowing the audience to see the world through the main character's eyes. The first important indication of Louise's true feelings is presented in the part immediately following the sad news. Although the woman is pressed down by a physical exhaustion, she nevertheless wants to remain alone and spend some time looking through the window. A detailed portrayal of what Mrs. Mallard sees allows the reader to guess the change in her reaction to the situation. The tops of trees, all aquiver with the new spring life and the delicious breath of rain mean a new beginning. The writer draws a connection between these images and the change that occurs to nature when winter ends and spring starts. Spring signifies a new life, a pure and transparent flow of emotions, which Louise hopes to obtain now that her married life is over. Spring images continue to sketch the promising future for Mrs. Mallard. The patches of blue sky showing through the clouds serve as a shining ray of hope that despite all the difficulties, happiness will arrive one day. These images of the approaching spring, both in direct and indirect meanings, indicate Louise's striving to start her life anew. While the mentioned instances of imagery help to understand Mrs. Mallard's emotions, she herself seems to come to this realization only in the next part of the story. With the gaze fixed on one of those patches of blue sky, the woman experiences a suspension of intelligent thought. At this point, the sky serves as the principal means of comprehending Louise's emotions. Although the thought is yet subtle and elusive, one guesses that its creeping out of the sky symbolizes the birth of a clear-cut idea in the woman's head. Thus, even behind a dull stare in Mrs. Mallard's eyes, one can see the happiness of a woman who has just understood something significant. The imagery employed by the author in this part of the short story prepares the audience to observe the ultimate resolution of the main character's feelings in the next part. The sounds, the scents, and the color filling the air make it evident that Louise's life is becoming brighter and more empowered. The woman no longer has to follow the same routine daily. Instead, she will do whatever she wants with her life. Finally, the physical forms of creating a mental picture for the reader are also powerful. These are reflected in the author's depiction of Mrs. Mallard's physical reactions. The woman's bosom rose and fell tumultuously, her pulses beat fast, and the coursing blood warmed and relaxed every inch of her body. These experiences help the audience understand what an excited state the woman is in and what a considerable alteration is happening in her life. Despite being sad about her husband's death, Louise cannot but enjoy drinking in a very elixir of life through her open window. These examples of physical experiences perceived by the main character help invoke the audience's emotional and sensational response. The author shows in minute details what Mrs. Mallard feels and how she treats the new circumstances. Mentioning the shudder that life might be long evokes a degree of fear and uneasiness and makes the audience feel sympathetic toward Mrs. Mallard's experience in marriage. The author's highly professional approach to describing each emotion and reaction makes it possible to see Louise Mallard in person and understand each one of her thoughts and inclinations. The use of imagery in Chopin's The Story of an Hour is a powerful tool enhancing the audience's understanding of the main character's true emotions, feelings, and thoughts. Even if some of her ideas are not stated directly, one can guess them from the objects that draw the character's attention. The sounds and images depicted in the story allow recreating the full picture and seeing the situation through Mrs. Mallard's eyes. With the help of imagery, Chopin not only appeals to the reader's understanding but also makes the audience analyze the reasons behind the main character's choices. By creating a mental picture of the story's circumstances, the author makes it easier for everyone to understand the true essence of Mrs. Mallard's reaction to the news. Study Corgi can help you make your studies smarter. Visit studycorgi.com for more samples like this, study tips, and writing tools.